that warrior all day. Welcome everybody to the TuVues podcast, man. Sorry we've been away for a while. We've been missing y'all, but we had to get back at it. Just to get back and share some stuff with y'all, man. I was excited to get back in front of family and friends and bring some knowledge to y'all. Hopefully we can brighten y'all day. So I'm Dr. Keith here. Just I'm sorry I'm dressed up today. Just got off work. So I want to change out of clothes, but I'm happy to be in front of y'all again today.
With your Easter fit on. I'm KFG. I'm in this piece. Y'all know who I am. What up?
Man, how you feeling?
Though. Can't complain, man.
Yeah, man. About that Super Bowl, bro. Now tell me what tell me what side you on, man. Hey, it's two things I agree with about the Super Bowl. That last call should have never been called, and that what everybody saying that wasn't no catch. Man, that was a catch. Your helmet is a part of your extension of your arm, your body. If you trap it on the side of your head, that first step counts. That's a catch.
Are you talking about was it Goddard? The Goddard?
Yeah. Catch? Yeah. That's a catch.
Oh yeah, it's a catch for sure. And when he lost control, but when he secured it, I think his toe on that foot was still on the ground. Then he tapped the other one. So I thought that was a catch. But as far as that penalty, man, y'all didn't call that all game. Not the end of the game. Y'all called that. Come on, man. No, you got to do better on that. And I didn't like that the dude admitted like it was a penalty. Dude's like, shut up.
Yeah, but you know what? So let's talk about it. So when you teach your DBs, the old way of doing this, latching on, right? He probably old school, like latching on. And the thing about it, though, he probably was latched on, and then when he made his break, you saw the jersey move. It wasn't a tug of the jersey. He didn't spin him around.
A tug.
And the ball. And I was telling people the ball was uncatchable. Whether the tug happened or not, he was overthrown. Like it was uncatchable.
Schuster was not catching that ball.
It was
that ball.
It was 7 yards overthrown. He was not. There was even out of that break, he was not catching that ball, and it didn't stop his break. So
yeah, I wanted Jalen to get this one, man. But
me too. Yeah,
I will say it was one of the better Super Bowls in a long time. It was actually a pretty good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Super Bowl. That's why I tell everybody. I know it was marred by that last penalty, but man, I thought, like you said, I think this is one of the best Super Bowls in a long time. Where I actually was glued to the TV. Where like I didn't want to get up and go get a snack. You know what I'm saying? Like I was glued to the TV on this one. So good job to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles for giving us what I would say what's probably gonna go down as one of the Super Bowls of the decade. I mean, gonna be hard to top that one,
bro. Even without that penalty, I think Kansas City was gonna pull it off. They were just too close. They would have attempted that field goal regardless.
Yeah, but it would have gave the Eagles a minute and 41 seconds left.
It was 3rd and 8, right, when they threw that penalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I was going for the Eagles, but I think KC would have won it regardless.
But you got to think about this: field goal at 147, kick the field goal. That's you can run 7-8 seconds off the clock, so that's 139, somewhere between 139, 141 left on the clock. You don't think Jalen Hurts could have gotten down the field for a field goal in overtime in a minute and 49 with 2 timeouts? One
Jalen
timeout.
Was balling, so I would never say that. Yeah. Jalen was balling, so I would never say that.
Yeah, but it was a good game, man. Congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs. They deserved that. Patrick Mahomes, bum ankle. I knew he was still hurt with, on a play where he rolled out of the pocket. He was slow, so he played hurt.
He got that cortisone shot at halftime. That's what he got.
Yeah, anybody that can play with a high ankle sprain, more power to him, man. Because that man,
he hurt.
He hurt today.
He hurt this morning.
He on crutches today. Yeah, he on crutches.
He in pain.
So,
all right, man. Y'all know how we do this, man. Let's move to the top 5. TuVues top 5, and this one it's kind of we'll see where this one go, man. We're gonna go top 5 candy bars, bro, of all time. Top 5 candy bars. I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
No, I kicked off the last one. It's on you, man.
Okay, I'll kick it off. Let me pull it up real quick. So I'm gonna start with my 5, right? My number 5 is M&M's, right? My and Yas. Hey, I hope that commercial fake. I hope they really change that name because it's irking me. But M&M's classic is one of the classics. I got to roll with M&M's, right? Then my number 4 is gonna be a little bit different. and they ain't a little bit different. It's a candy bar. The Snickers brownies.
Yeah, those bad though. Snickers brownies bad
Man,
though.
those Snickers brownies be on fire.
Fat boy mode activate.
we already talked about we already talking about candy bars. We both diabetic. Hey,
Yeah.
ain't that sad? Hey, number 3, I'm running with the Reese's. You got anybody that ain't got Reese's in their top 5 candy bar all time tripping. By far Reese's, unless you don't like peanut butter. Reese's by far top. Now my number 2, I promise you don't have on your list.
Okay, go ahead.
The Symphony.
Oh, the Symphony bad, but it ain't on my list. It ain't.
The
Symphony bad is on my list. It ain't on my list.
Symphonies be fire. And then I'm gonna go with my number 1. It's gonna always be my number 1. Can't nothing gonna ever top this number 1. The Milky Way. The Milky Way is my top candy bar. Fire.
All right. Well, I got 2 you got. I got 2, and I know I got 2 you ain't got. So the brownie fire, I got to give you that one. It ain't my top 10, and the Symphony fire, but it ain't in my top 10. So here we go. I'm gonna go with my number 5. It's the Milky Way. Yo, number 1 is my number 5. I'm gonna go with the Milky Way.
5.
I'm gonna go with the Milky Way. Room temperature Milky Way, man. People like they food like they candy. Bro, man, give me a room temperature Milky Way all day.
Yeah. You can't freeze no Milky Way.
Same with the Reese's, but I know people like the Reese's frozen too. But my number
Kit
2.
Kat though, you can freeze the Kit Kat.
I don't like none of it frozen. But here go my number 4. I know you ain't got, and you probably never even ate this before. The O. Henry. O. Henry number 4.
I ain't a fan of O. Henry.
Man, O. Henry is banging.
I don't like that.
They should bring them back on stock. Well, Henry banging. And my number 3, I know you ain't got, but you gonna know this. If you from the hood, man, you know this back from the Harrison liquor store. Mellow Cups. The Mellow Cups. That's my 3.
The top 5 though, bro.
Mellow Cups Mellow Cups are my 3. That's my 3. My 2 is the Snicker. I'm gonna go with the Snicker, and my 1 is the Reese's. I'm gonna be a Reese's till the day I die.
I don't know how you got a Snicker over the Snickers brownie, bro. Hey man, if you haven't had the Snickers brownie, man, I promise you, if you
you'll be in heaven.
Put a Snicker over that ever.
Oh yeah, you would, but you'll be in heaven for it.
You want to know a candy bar that I thought was gonna be better than what it was, man? The Twix with the cookie dough.
Oh no, them terrible. Nah, them terrible. You know what is good though? They got that new M&M mix bunch where you get plain peanut and peanut butter M&Ms in the same pack. You gotta go get it. Where can I find it? You gotta go to Walgreens, man. It got all 3 of them in the same pack. It's called a mix pack.
I would be going after we finish recording.
I'm telling you, got all 3 of them in one pack, bro. I should have put that in there. All 3 of them together. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think my list better though.
No, man, the Mellow Cups make you think about it, don't it?
Yeah, Mellow Cups was fire back in the day, man. What do you think about Chico sticks? Did you like Chico sticks?
I was never a fan of Chico sticks, but I'm gonna tell you, can't nobody they can fight. We can fight on this. I'll fight somebody over this. The best now later was the pineapple now later.
Oh, it ain't comparable. It's not
no comparable. I don't care. You can the pineapple now later is the best now later of all time. Period.
It's not even comparable.
I'll fight somebody over that.
I'm a pineapple fan. I eat everything pineapple. So,
yeet.
Wow. You only like Chico sticks. You only like Chico sticks if you're a Butterfinger fan. You like Chico sticks.
Man, if you're gonna drink some Canadian Superior after you hey, you old if you eat Chico sticks and Boston baked beans.
Bro, Boston baked beans are one of the nastiest candies on earth, bro. I don't get nobody who eat Boston baked beans, man.
Yes,
they disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
We diabetic though, y'all, so we ain't eating that tonight. Definitely go get
Hey,
them
I
M&Ms.
am going to find those M&Ms. Oh, I will
Hey
be
man,
bringing
mix the
back
mix
them
pack,
M&Ms.
and it's split. It's yellow, brown, and orange, so it's the color of all M&Ms that's in there.
I ain't
You'll
never
see it. It's in a
seen it.
bag. It's in a bag. It's like in a bag about this big. Yeah, buddy.
I am on it. Consider
Yes,
it
sir.
bought. All right, man. So we're gonna jump into our topic, man. Y'all know we like to do topics where it's thought provoking, where we can really dive into it and give our honest opinion, our difference of opinions, or whatever it takes to get this topic out and to get it but to shine a light on it, right? So today we're gonna talk about something that's very near and dear to me personally. We're gonna talk about legacy. I'm pretty sure it's near and dear to Keith too, with two boys.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about legacy and what legacy means to us, and what the future, what does it entail? Like, what's the direction of it? So I'll let you write out. Like, how do you define legacy? Like, how do you define that word?
So I was actually looking at this up because I you can be a little everywhere when you kind of define a word. So for me, it was about the combination of your history, your faith, your ethics, your belief, and the values that you hold core central to you and who you are, or your family and who it is. It is everything that is encompassing to make up you or y'all, right? And it's also a legacy. It should also be something that can guide a family and be a sense of guidance and inspiration in those dark times, and bring light to dark times. So it's about the combination of your faith, your ethics, the values that your family and you hold core, your beliefs. And one thing I like to always bring up when I talk about legacy is another key point of legacy that is rarely missed is the mythos, the myths, the things that make your family. There's the stories, the um, the folk tales, the all the fables, everything that makes your family who it is, and brings light to the greatness and the history of who you are as a people.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that way when you said history. Because when I think of legacy, I always think future. But
Mm,
when my the way I look and define legacy is when I leave here, what's left? What about me is left here? What about me? What about me? What about my family? What about Kevin continues to go? What can be attached to my family name, my sake? So that's when I think of legacy, and I plan for it, and I try to maneuver things around to make sure there's something substantial there. I think about when Kevin's gone,
mm,
what continues to be, and I think that's something everybody should look at. Everybody should um consider, and it's more than just planning, because people think of legacy and they think about, I need to plan, I need to save this much money, which that's part of it. You got to
mm,
do certain things, make certain moves, but it's also about like character, um
mm,
emotionally, generation. Like, it's more facets to it than we tend to look at and think about. And and that's what I do. I sit down when I think about legacy. I sit down and I say, okay, literally, what does it mean to me? I define it for me, and like I said, it's what, when I'm going, when I'm here, and what do I want that to look like? Future thinking, future planning. What does that look like when I'm not here? How does Caleb look? How does Caleb's
mm,
kids look? How does generations beyond me? What do they get from me that they can look back and say, my great 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 grandfather was this, he was that,
mm.
right? That's my thoughts on legacy.
So I want to go back to state a couple things on what you said. So to you, just to put it in a little bit of perspective, um, to give it a word, legacy is the residue. What's the residue, right?
Yeah,
What's left behind?
that's a
What's the
good one.
residue? Um, And so, but I want to just take what you said because we talked about legacy in two different ways, and both of them are right, but it's in two different scopes, right? So, what you did, you talked about the micro, the legacy, the you, right? And what I did is talk about the macro, and we have to understand that both of those are necessary to guide the next generation. Micro and macro,
Absolutely.
who you are, what you bring, what's your legacy, and then your legacy as a unit. What is the legacy of the unit? And both of those are critical when you start designing the future for your generations. What is the future for what? How am I as Keith building the future for KJ and Elijah? Right? And how am I setting the foundational family atmosphere for KJ and Elijah for them to be effective and push that family legacy? And the reason why I talk about the macro is because one thing when I don't say chastise, but when I'm talking to KJ and Elijah about things they do, I literally say to them, "We Davises. That's not how we roll. That's not how we react. That's not what we do." Right? It's not. I can say I can talk to them as individuals, but I always also reiterate like that's not who you are as a young man. You need to be better. But I say that we're Davises. That's not what we do. Right. So it's the micro and the macro that encompasses what a legacy is. And we'll get a little more into it.
Yeah. Let's dive right to it. You got a good note on the let me pull it up here real quick on the effects of it and the power of it of legacy. Let me let you dive into that bullet point because I find it interesting. You mentioned the positive and the negative side of it, right? That's a lot of things,
Yeah.
some things that people don't look at. When we think of legacy, we think of the golden era where our families are going to be flourishing and our namesake is going to be doing great things. But you can build a positive legacy, or you can build a negative, and especially in I would say in the black community, right? And I'm just gonna talk about the black community at this current moment because I feel like our legacy. I'm finna go back far. I'm finna go back to slavery, right? We base our legacy off when we were in bondage
Mm-hmm.
instead of basing our legacy when we were kings and queens. Where you establish how you're going to review your legacy,
Man, you hit a
it's going to
point there.
determine where it goes. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
let you go, and I'll jump back in when you on it.
So the reason why I talked about legacy and the effects of legacy um, is because your legacy is something that can have a positive or negative impact on not only you but your future, right? And so I started thinking about a couple people in history. So I don't know if you watched the play Hamilton. I love it.
Yeah,
It's one.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's, it's the only soundtrack that I own. But there's one point where Hamilton is talking about what legacy will I leave, right?
yeah,
But even in Hamilton's legacy, he left two legacies, right? His positive legacy is built one of the best financial markets and governmental structures in the world, right? Unmatched, right? But he also put out a negative legacy, but a lot of that negative legacy was because of his selfishness and arrogance, right? I also think about Achilles and like in the movie where he was like, "That's why they won't remember your name." He did it for him, but we are beings who will perish one day, right? And so, even though my name may live, how does my name live? In what form and fashion does my name live? Does my name live in a way that it uplifts who's ever connected to it? Or is it something that becomes a weight and a hindrance? For instance, think about I'm talking about Hamilton, but think about Burr, right? He was the vice president. Even though he killed Hamilton, he ended up being a vice president of the United States. How many people know that? How many people know that as a part of his legacy? Right? His legacy is as the man who killed Alexander Hamilton. So that's why we have to be critical of what foundation we build our legacy on. Because at the end of the day, that foundation is strong and it's as a rock. And whatever it's on, that's what our legacy is going to stand on. It's going to stand on whatever we put it on. And so I want to get your thoughts on that. And I want to talk a little bit more about legacy, the negatives and positives.
Yeah, so my thing is also on that, and I didn't know Burr was the vice president, so it's kind of interesting.
All right.
Um, I believe in this thing called heart posture, right? I think the way the direction your legacy goes is based on your heart posture. Are you one of those people that always thinks negative, or you are the type of person that thinks positive? Are you a person that loves people? Are you your heart posture will determine which direction you go. And I like what you said about Hamilton. Like there is some positive and negative sides so I believe there's positive and negative sides regardless of what legacy we leave, right? So I'm never gonna do everything perfect. But my goal is my legacy, my positive legacy, the greatness of me should overwhelm anything that was negative about me. My
Mm-hmm.
positive should overwhelm the negative. For instance, Burr, you killed Hamilton, but you're the vice president. Your positive of being the vice president not outweigh your you know what I mean? Then outweigh your negative. So I believe like when you live your life, you have lived. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. But your positive have to outweigh your negative, and that starts with your heart posture. Who you are, who is your heart? Are you cold at heart? Are you loving and warming to people? That determines your direction.
Mm-hmm. It does, and that's very critical. It is your heart posture because I'm glad you brought in that because as I talk about positive and negative legacy, you see, positive legacies are healthy traits that can be and traits of merit that can be passed on to the next generation or the next group. Right? They are things, beliefs, attitudes that we hold dear, that are indicative of who we are as a family, who we are as people. But then you have the negative legacies, right? And this is where the heart posture comes in because in order to do the positive legacy, you got to have the right heart posture. But when you don't have the right heart posture, then negative legacies start to coming about, where we become stricter, and we become where the discipline is more important than the nurturing, and we become more of with family with no traditions and expectations. And so if our heart's in the right place to make sure our lives are set up for the success of future generations and to break what you'll get into later, generational curses, in our hearts in that right way, then we set up a positive legacy that our kids can thrive upon. And one thing I'm glad about the things I'm doing with the legacy I'm building with my boys is I don't see the negative pieces of legacy uh, through me in my kids, and it's like it's awesome to see, right? It's awesome to see that I'm not passing on merit or beliefs or expectations or discipline that is not going to better my kids as young men. And I think that's critical that we make sure that we focus on um, the not only are like a lot of people focus on their name being strong in their legacy, but it's not our generations. Our kids are our legacies. Our kids are our legacies.
So here's an example for me, right? You know this. So I'm in the Eureka College Athletic Hall of Fame. Sound like a good legacy, right? It's a good
Mm-hmm.
title to have. It make you feel good about like you're in the Hall of Fame or something. But that can't be the foundation of my legacy. That can't be my
Nope.
foundation. It can't be the foundation of my legacy. That people will forget about that
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Fame. That Hall of Fame will be forgotten. My son may not forget about it. son might know a little bit about it, and his daughter, their daughter, but it's going to
But it's gonna
fade.
fade. Yeah,
It's going to fade. I need a legacy that will not fade. Like your legacy cannot be root. Put like this: it can't just be rooted in material things. It can't rooted in just the physical.
it can't
It's
be
got to
right.
be the social, the emotional, the spiritual. Like, it's got to be rooted in every asset of being, and
And
people
what I'm,
really
I
have to
want to break,
understand that.
but I don't want to cut you off because I want you to finish. But also remember, whatever foundation that you built it on, you're gonna continue to build it on foundation. You're not tearing that down. Like if you can start from scratch once you realize but people rarely do that. Whatever foundation you start to build on, you're going to continue to build on. And so it's good about looking at what I found about if you have a chance to if you have a bad foundation right now and correcting that foundation or knocking it all down and starting over again, do so because a legacy foundation is strong because it's memories, it's words, it's written, it's said, it lasts.
Hmm. I agree, but I really like that positive and negative side of it. Like, I'm glad you made that note, because I literally was thinking about all the upside of it. But there's
Yep,
definitely some downside.
yeah, there is downside, and when we start thinking about this topic, I really start looking at people who they want their legacy to be something great, right? I'm gonna talk about it. Think about a lot of the white supremacist groups, right? Let's think about Great Britain and the various wars against they all wanted the legacy of fighting for something, but they got their legacy. They still have a legacy. It's a negative one, but they have a legacy, right?
Hmm.
They built their legacy on beliefs and that's why I said it can't be materialistic. There's one materialistic, but they built it on sour beliefs, and they have a legacy. That's what I'm saying. That foundation is not broken down. That foundation is there. It's built on negativity, and it's going to be a negative legacy regardless. And so
Yeah, you can.
we have to understand that. Go ahead.
No, so you can think about the Civil War. The South has a legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those states in the South, they have a legacy. It ain't a good one. It's there.
Yep. But this the point. I think the point of this topic that you brought forward is that how do we start to build a legacy through us that translates into the success of generations, right? Now that we know there is a positive and a negative side, and it's just not, oh, I'm going to start here and be here or go up. Now that we know that, how do we start developing the foundation to make sure that we leave a residue that says that speaks to our greatness? Because everybody's great, but what residue are we leaving that speaks to our greatness, not only as an individual but as a family and as a culture?
Yeah. That's was a question for me.
No, I'm just saying that it's just time for us to start thinking about that as individuals. Like what are we
No,
how are we creating the
man.
foundations for our legacies?
You hitting some keywords, man. Every time you say residue, it just hit me different, man. That's a key word in this thing, man. Because, like, you think about, man, like, we gonna fade, like, we gonna go away, and like that word residue, what's left over, man? Like, what's like, I don't know. You just hitting some keywords that I like. Let's talk about generational curses.
Well, before you get that, I'm gonna go back to the residue because think about this. Think about this, Kev. We grew up in the later stages of the chalkboard, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you clean a chalkboard, right, it be black until it start to dry because that residue's still there. But here's the thing, though: why is that residue necessary? Right? Have you ever written on a purely clean chalkboard? It is hard to write on, but that residue
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Right? It gives the
Makes a lot
friction
of sense.
on the chalkboard to be able to continue to write. So I just had to bring that up. Like that residue, your residue has a purpose. It has a strength, right? And so it's needed for a specific purpose, but we got to make sure we're leaving around the right legacy, the right components.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember those chalkboards back in the day, boy. You get that brand new. We got a new chalkboard, boy. You try to write on that
You
thing, chalk ain't
can't write
grabbing
on
on
it.
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You got that sometime now. You buy kids little chalkboards, you can't write on it. I got to
Yep.
get a little bit messy. But yeah, let's hop over to generational curses. Um, First of all, we got to define it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Biblically, we know what it is. It's something that goes sins of the father pass on, or sins of the parent pass on from generation to generation. Some people don't believe in generational curses. I personally do. I personally believe in them wholeheartedly, because if you look at
Mm-hmm.
your life and you just think about some things that happen or is happening, I promise you can tie it back to something else. It's
Yeah.
tied to something. For instance, if you grew up without a father, that's in effect a cause that might affect something in your future or in your present. So, how do you define generational curses? Um, and what does it mean to you to have a generational curse? So, for me, to have a generational curse for me it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a well. Let me say this first. You have to recognize it that this is a situation that's followed through your bloodline for many years. But then the challenge of beating it is a whole nother process. So what is generational curse to you, and what's your structure of trying to understand it and move forward on them?
So for me, a generational curse is a habit, a trait, a behavior, an expectation, a element that's passed down from one generation to the next. Right? It's a curse though, so I've never heard curses in a positive light. Right? So it's a negative habit, behavior, trait, belief that is passed down from one generation to another. It's a learned be learn or since we biblical, it's a spiritual behavior, but it's also a learned behavior, right? That is passed down from generation to generation. And I'm like you, I completely believe in generational curses. And I'll talk as you get into this about my experiences with them. But it's we carry it becomes a it becomes a burden or yoke that we're passing along. It's like instead of relieving the pressure off our future generations, we're just passing it to them. So I have this yoke, I have this weight, I have um this just unbelievable behavior or trait that has wear me down and caused me not to be the best version of me. And instead of saying, let me throw this off my back like a cloak and walk straight up so I can lead, I'm just saying, here, you take it for me. See what I'm saying? It's like we're passing on this this heavy load to our sons and daughters, um, and it just get heavier and heavier and heavier, and to destroy more lives and more lives and more lives. And so we have to identify those things and address them accordingly so that we won't pass on these learned behaviors.
And the thing about generational curses is that we have to be smart on how we handle them.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, growing up, once again, this ain't a daddy bashing seminar or nothing, but
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I will be nothing like my dad. I'm gonna fight so hard to be nothing like my dad to end up having
Mm-hmm.
some of those traits.
Yep, you beat me
Sometimes
to
we
it.
fight so hard to fight a generational curse on a certain level that we push ourselves into that curse. But that goes for me. That goes back to heart posture.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you trying to stop the generational curse? Why is it important that you defeat it? Is it out of hate or is it out of love? What you decide on that curse is whether you're gonna have a positive legacy or a negative legacy. I truly believe everything we do gotta have the right heart posture, and that goes to generational curses. I did not want to be anything like my dad, but man, I'm telling you, as time went on,
Mm-hmm.
some of them traits slipped in. So, how do you feel about that? Have you had those traits slip in on you, like fighting
Yep.
so hard to where it's like, okay, I'm doing that.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I just want to say, if for you, those of you watching, and you don't like the term generational curses, for this time being, say generational behaviors. If that makes you feel more comfortable, because it's a
You
set of
know me.
behaviors that have been passed on from generation to
I
generation.
I'm not.
Right,
I'm not trying
unapologetically
to.
Christian, right? Yeah, but I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying for
just
the
saying
people who
I'm not trying to make nobody comfortable. Some of these topics
right.
gonna be
No,
uncomfortable.
no, no. What I'm saying, if it makes you easier for you to for you to digest or to understand, just change curses to behaviors. And so, one thing I'm glad you brought up and you brought the story, because I want to say, this isn't you right. Say this isn't that a bashing thing, and love you, pops. Uh, Thank you for being my dad. But I do want to share personally how this directly affected me, right? So I had my issues with relationships, right? I had these deep seated issues and curses. Let me just explain that the curses and behaviors I'm talking about. I'm just gonna say this, Kevin, are from both sides of the family.
Man,
Let's
I
be
was finna say
honest.
the same thing.
Let's be honest, from
Like
the both sides of the family.
our mom's side don't get no pass either. Like,
Let's keep it real, right? So
mm,
they from both sides of the family, but I know some of the specific things that were weighing me down and that I had built a foundation on, right? Those generational behaviors that I built a foundation on, uh, I attribute it. But here's the biggest mistake we make with generational curses. A lot of time, people try to destroy them for other people, not for themselves, right? It is a way to say I want to better my family for my kids, but you can't better your family for your kids until you better you, right? So you gotta want to be the pillar. And so what I did when I was going through this transition where I was like, I want to be the best version of Keith. I was 28, right? And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna be the best version of Keith. And I just trying, and nothing was working. And then one day I sat down, I was at this meeting, and I sat down, I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, Keith, you got some daddy issues. I said, you have some unresolved daddy issues. Now, let me make this plain, right? My daddy issues at that point were my fault, right? Because I never addressed it. I never acknowledged it. We can sit and blame people till the cows come home, right? But at the point in time when I'm grown enough to deal with those behaviors and don't, they're mine. They're mine now. I chose, but I said, Keith, in order for you to get to the point to deal with these generational behaviors and curses, you have to hit them head on. And I have some serious daddy issues. And so one thing I did, I don't know, Pops probably remember this, but I was 28, and I said I'm become the best version of me. And I started looking at myself. I said I'm diabetic. I got two bad knees. I got a bad back. I'm like, and I look just like him, right? I was like, I am my daddy, right? I was like, I am everything that he's dealing like, and I was like, and I was so pained by that, and I was so hurt by that, and I said, Keith, you have to share this with him, right? And so I wrote a letter about all of this, about the pain, how growing up without a father, what it did to me, how it affected me, um, and where I want to go with my life, and how I and this is the key things about me breaking that generational cursing behavior, man. Is that as I did that, as I wrote this letter to him, it's two things I did. I said, but I forgive you. I said, but I forgive you, right? Because in order for me to heal and be forgiven, I got to forgive, right? And so I forgive you, but this another thing I did. I forgave so I can move forward. But I went to the mailbox because I wrote a letter. I said I didn't do no email. I wrote a letter, and I said, Keith, when you drop this in the mailbox, all your it's over. All generation curses are gone. You see, I dropped it in the mailbox. Whether my dad received that or not, whether he read it or not, that was me breaking the generational curse, right? Because I came to a decision that I'm breaking this curse for me and the generations to come. I can't dwell on the curses that I had and how it affect me and woe is me. I have to break them for me so I can set up the proper future for the generations to come. That's how I started to break my behaviors. I dropped the mailbox, and that point on, Kevin, a weight lifted.
Yeah.
A weight lifted, and it was a whole different key.
But I want to flip to some same scenario, not scenario, but same area. And I'm just gonna flip over to our mom's side of the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what I don't think people understand, and especially people that's a level above you. So, like, if for instance, my mom and her siblings, some people can't recognize that that the curses that they're carrying puts a weight on their kids. Like they
Mm-hmm.
don't recognize it, that the hurt and pain that y'all still dealing with and y'all battling with is affecting your kids, right? We Nobody wants to see their parents frustrated, hurt, still battling situations. But I feel like certain people don't know how to deal with those issues or don't know how to deal with certain
Mm-hmm.
generational curses that they don't even attempt to try to break them. It's just that this is what everybody uses phrase. It is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even attempt to try to break it. And it puts a weight. It, it's not that. It's not that we as the kids are doing those same curses, right? But it becomes a weight on us
Right.
because we see the frustrations up top. We have to be the ones comforting our parents and back and forth bitter. No matter, we probably get along with, as we know, we get along with our cousins as well.
Mm-hmm.
But with the people above us, our parents are fighting and bickering. It That's a weight on us because we are always gonna protect our parent, and you always gonna protect your parent. But we ain't really the ones with the issue, so we're carrying your weight. Parents gotta learn, grandparents gotta learn that sometimes if you don't relieve your issues, not only will you put curses that go from generation to generation, but it's a weight on your kids, man. It's a heavy weight. You gotta stop making your kids carry your weight. Deal with your weight.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna bring this to the King family. I'm glad you did go back to our side because I think it's something we got to be very clear on. Growing up, man, we were the most tight knit family I've ever seen. As a poverty, a families who were deep in poverty, man, we were connected for everything. Every 4th of July, every Memorial Day, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, it was super connected. Going to Galesburg Beach for the 4th of July, like it was super connected. But those, like you said, those generational weights, let's call them generational weights, right? Because that's what it became. And I just need to talk to my mom, my aunties, my uncles, for about what you just said about the weight that it causes. Because we don't even we struggle to get together now. But the reason why we struggle to get together is because of those weights. Is because of those the pride right? One of the best times I had in the past few years, Kevin, is when we did the cousins get together, right?
Yeah.
We are linked. My cousins, I would say they're like brothers and sisters more than they are cousins, if anything. But I don't get to see them as often as I would like, not only because of the distance, but because the people above us are so always at odds, right? So like you said, we end up getting their weight. We end up getting their weight, and it's just not fair. You have to analyze um, your effect on the next generation, and if you can't see that, it's always going to be a tug of war.
And so with that though, that's one thing I always said about my legacy. I know we get into our own legacy and things like that, but one thing I said about my legacy is Kayla would never have to carry my weight. It's gonna be the
Mm-hmm.
total opposite. I will carry all his weight so that he won't have to deal with that. That's how I feel like I'm defeat the generational curses in my family is I'm going to carry all the weight. The buck is gonna stop with me. I'm carrying all that weight. I'm not I might not ever see the fruit of this legacy, but I know I'm carrying his weight and it's not going to the next generation. I'm not gonna let it go. I'm gonna carry my own weight and his and say it stops here. It's over. Now and I'm going. It's gonna beat me down. It's gonna have me frustrated. My mind gonna be everywhere. But guess what? It's gonna start a ripple effect in my family. The legacy is gonna start right there. That's the residue. That's the residue. My dad made sure I didn't have to do this, or I had to, or this is he covered me. And for instance, financially, we can get more deep. Financially, I would prefer to die broke and
Amen.
allow my son to go into life
And that,
with
yeah.
debt and oppressed by the dollar. I refuse. I will carry that weight. I will be
Mm-hmm.
broke, busted, and disgusted without a dime because I'm helping my son out before I allow him instant student loans. I got a billion student loans. My kid will not. Caleb will not have a dime in student loans.
Same here.
He won't have a dime in student loans. Right. So parents, we don't only gotta carry our own weight, man, but if we want to break generational curses, we gotta carry some of the weight of our kids. We gotta take some of that
Mm-hmm.
pressure off of them. It ain't babying them. It's carrying a weight that has held our bloodlines down for so long. I'm gonna carry that weight. It's gonna stop here. Putting it all in my. So we Project Christians. We talk about Jesus Christ. He bore everybody. He carried all the weight. So we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't. So we wouldn't have to worry, right? That's just symbolic of what we need to do. Like we got to carry the weight. We got to carry the weight of our kids so we can create legacy and lasting life for our families.
Let's keep it 100 though. In order to do this, and this is for this part right here for me. I'm speaking specifically to us as a culture, black people, right? Let's be 100. In order to do this, there's some things culturally we need to stop doing. And one of those is I'm gonna speak on a few of them, but here's one: kicking our kids out the house at 18. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the world we send our kid in, and were you ready for life 18? Now, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. I'm talking about a kid that's in college and or working to save up to move out on their own. What benefit is it to them for you to expel them from the home? It actually could be of great benefit to you because this is a prime opportunity to teach them how to save, to teach them how to budget, to teach them how to pay bills, to teach them responsibilities. Right? There's things that we couldn't do and do as when they're in school because we wanted them to focus on school. We wanted them to be kids. We wanted them to be a part of athletics. But now you're an adult. you got a job or you in college, so we're gonna teach you how to stack the bread. We're gonna teach you how to budget to keep a bank ledger to be accountable to buy household supplies to provide for a home. Right, those are the prime opportunity. Look, the government even allows you to leave a kid on your insurance for an extended amount of time if they're in college. So if the government sees the importance and insurance companies see the importance of that, why is that a thing that we like to do culturally, right? And I used to be that way, but like, man, when my kids turn 18, they're up out of here. And that was before I had kids. Then I had kids, and I realized I look back on my life at 18. And mama was still there. Mama was buying us groceries at college, everything, right? She still was doing. I just think we miss some prime opportunities to continue to grow our kids as adults because we know the frontal lobe isn't fully developed until what, 25. And so we're sending a 18-year-old out into the world without a fully developed frontal lobe and thinking that they're going to be just fine. Nope, they're going to be like most of us was. They're going to get credit cards. They're going to max them out. They're going to go in debt. They're going to get bad credit. We are creating the cycle. That is the, I think that is the catalyst of the cycle. So it's always the generational curses, but then that's the catalyst. That's the next point to where it says, boom, those curses started to speed up and become more grounded in our young people because we have these cultural things that we do or cultural things that we believe or cultural things or cultural acts that we commit that we think we teaching our kids how to grow and be successful and be able to stand on their own. No, we're teaching them how to put themselves in situations where they're going to fail. I'm just saying that's just
So
me.
yeah, but no, I 100% agree with you. But you said some kids that the kicking up people, the kids out of the house at 18. But one key thing you said, if they are staying in the house, if you keep them in the house, it ain't like they, because there's a reverse side to it too. Because some people keep their kid, let their kids stay in the house, and their kids don't do nothing.
Don't
They
provide.
don't
Yep.
pay a bill. They don't. No, 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 no. You if your kid in college and he come on, let's say he come on out to college. I think I was talking a long time ago, my Kayla's mother about this with her daughter, letting her come home or whatever. When they come home, there's a plan. Like there's a plan there. There's not like you come home, you can stay here for however long you want. No,
Mm-hmm.
there's a plan. We're gonna set you up to be a successful woman or a man. We're gonna let you stack your dough, but I gotta be real. You gotta pay at least one bill in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got a job, at least one. It could be the cheapest bill. It could be a $50 light bill or something. I mean, something cheap, or at least I'm not paying your cell phone no more. Pay your own cell phone, right? That shows a responsibility. But also at the same time, not only are you showing a responsibility, but you also allowing them to stack up their payment. Because this would be so dope, and this is my plan that kid come home, stack up his dough, help it doing his thing, and then he save up enough money to put his down payment on a house and have a car paid out front without no have to take out a loan on it. Wouldn't that be dope for your kid to go on full life at 24, 25, 26 with a car with no note and a down payment on a house where you can buy a house and he or she can do their thing with no student loans? There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that if there's a plan and a purpose. But
Right, but
some
they got
people
to be
like
a
to get
plan and
away from the
purpose.
some people get away from the plan and the purpose, and they kids 30, 40 years old still sitting in their mama house, still not doing nothing. And girls still like those dudes, but that's a whole nother topic. We can talk about
Mm-hmm.
that some other time. But plan and purpose. So I agree with you, man. They're kicking kids out at 18. Like I'm not kicking Caleb out at 18. He come home, want to stack his dough and and figure things out. We gonna plan it. It ain't just you saying I'm coming home and I'm gonna figure things out. No, We're going to figure it out. We're going to create a plan. You're part of my legacy. We're going to figure it out. But we will have a plan.
Yeah. And one more, I could talk about some of the cultural things we need to break all day. All right, that could be a whole separate topic, and I can go hours for it. But here's another one, and listen to me very closely, parents. Uh, all parents, not only I was gonna say dads, but parent mothers and fathers, because we all do it. Stop. We have to stop disciplining without educating. We have to stop. Now, let me be clear. I am still a firm believer in the spanking. I'm sorry, and people could push back on it like, oh, research. Okay, yeah, research and does not compute with the school shootings and the mass. Anyway, um, research. But I still believe in punishment, right? But you know the last time I spanked KJ and Elijah? It's been a couple years. Here's why. Because I discipline and educate. There's not one time where I discipline KJ, send them to their room, take their tablets, and don't tell them why, and give them a learning component to why what they did was wrong. I talk about integrity. I talk about honor. I talk about respect. They are disciplined and educated on the behaviors they committed. So often, we tell our kids do this because I told you to, or we whoop kids because they broke something, or we discipline kids, put them in timeout because they fought their brother, right? But when KJ and Elijah fight, specifically KJ put his hands on Elijah, I talked to him about the love for his brother and being the right big brother, being an honorable big brother, right? It's just not KJ, I'm taking your tablet, I'm taking your PlayStation. No, we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a face to face. I may yell at you, but then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna tell you about the behavior, and we're gonna talk about how to get better from there. Discipline has to be connected to educating about the behavior. The big term in schools right now, restorative. The key point about being restorative is by addressing the behavior, about educating the person about the behavior. It's not about the consequence. Now, consequences have to come. You have to have consequences. But if you are not educating your kid about the behavior, it is very likely that behavior is going to happen again. So we have to discipline with education.
And on top of that, discipline, I 100% agree with the education. And you also have to come back in love, right? For instance, if Caleb just, he don't even like me looking at him the wrong, like mad, like I'm mad. Like, but I can yell at him, educate him, but then I always say, come here, buddy, give me a hug. Like, give me a hug. Always know
Yep.
daddy love you. Regardless that I have to punish you and I gotta get on you. I still love you, man. I just have to do this to make sure you're raised to be a good, solid young man. So you gotta always follow up discipline with education, and then you always gotta follow it up with love. You gotta love your kids, show them that you love them, because there's so many parents that are like so stern. I'm strict on them, and they do the education. You ain't supposed to do it. But then the kid, like, now they terrified of their parent. Now I'm scared of my own pops and my own mama. You don't want that. That's not how you do it.
Because like you say, KJ lines they the turn look that'll get them. But I always I get on them, and then I'll be like, KJ, like, guess that? I'll be like, look, I give him a hug, I kiss him on top of the head. I love you. I just need you to do better. You know better. You understand me, young man? Yes, Dad. Love you too. Like, that has to end all discussions about discipline. The love has to be there.
It has
to. because, like you said, it creates a fear. Like my kids have a love and a fear of me, right? They don't want to disappoint me, but they know regardless of what they do, Daddy gonna love them. They know that, and that's why the behaviors have done a 180 in school. That's why. But and I also use it as a learning point for my oldest to hold his brother accountable at school. Hey, KJ, if Elijah acting up, I need you to go over there and talk to him. Just that. So I don't cause I got KJ got another watchdog at school. I mean Eli got another watchdog at school. He's KJ right across the lunchroom from him. He do something, KJ go address it. So we have to come
Solid.
back. They have to come back, and that's the legacy I'm building. That's the legacy is this is how Davises do it. Right? We are young men of honor, respect, and integrity at all times. My kids right now can tell you what the meaning of integrity is. By definition. At all times, this is who we are. That's the legacy I'm building. So when I'm going, when I'm not around, they know what to do. My kids know if I'm not around and the young ladies open the door, they better rush to the door open. I don't care who the young lady is. They need to rush to open that door. They know they better, if a young lady's walk through the door, they may not try to rush out that door. They better wait till she comes in and then they can exit. But they do that when I'm not around. That's the legacy I'm building.
Yeah, so let's talk about the building legacy. Like, let's tie this all together. Like, let's talk about what's the process looks like. So, I mean, we talked about it throughout this discussion, but let's detail like what we think are like the key points. And for anybody that's listening that want to build a solid legacy within their family, what are some key points that they should focus on? I'm gonna start with the first one. For me, it is I'm gonna jump back to what I said earlier: carrying your weight and carrying the weight of your some carrying some of the weight of your kids. Now you can't
Mm-hmm.
carry all the weight because something's happened when you're not around. But first things first, you got to carry your own weight and stop putting it on your kids. That's where you start right there.
Yeah.
When I do this, it puts a strain on my kids. I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna stop doing that because I know my kids don't like it. I know it's a weight on them. I know it frustrates them. I'm not gonna, like, for instance, if you smoke and drink, you get drunk all the time, and your kids see you stop be drunk and they hate it. Stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You smoke a lot. Your kids don't want to be around you because you smoking. Stop smoking. Stop doing those things that add a negative weight onto your kids. Carry that weight yourself. If you need a smoker, you need a drinker, and all that, do it when they not around. Like, I'm a drinker. I drink socially. I don't drink around Caleb. Caleb don't see me with a glass of wine. He
Mm-hmm.
won't see that. But that's just who I am. That's the legacy I'm establishing for Caleb. But if I like to indulge, I will. But like, we have to stop first putting this weight on our kids.
Mm-hmm.
That helps stop the generational curse there. Stop putting weight on them. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a point for me.
My first point is identify your deficiencies. You have to know. First of all, let me change that. Define what you want your legacy to be, and then identify your deficiencies in that. Right? Because if I'm not equipped to create the legacy I want for my kids, I'm gonna create more curses. I'm gonna create more weights. I'm gonna create more barriers. So identify the legacy that you want to leave, and identify your deficiencies in that legacy. Right? And I had to do that. I had to figure out what this is how I want to how I want my kids to grow up and learn. And but what am I missing? And one thing I did, Kev, that I kind of I don't say that I well how I acknowledge this is that I learned that sometimes I'm short. Like I can get up, go 0 to 10. But what I
Hmm.
start doing
Yes, I
is
do.
what I start doing is anytime I offend somebody in front of somebody, I go apologize to them in front of that person. Right? It's not like, hey, come here, let me talk to you. Yeah, I'm sorry for what I did. No, if I'm arguing with, let's say, with somebody and KJ and Elijah are around, I'm gonna leave and say, you know what, KJ and Elijah, come here. such and such, I am sorry for the behavior I portrayed, right? I'm sorry for, so I have to identify the fact that that I do go boom to boom, but also I have this mind, this logical mind that I have to be, that I'm right. And so I had to come down off my high horse and say I had to humble myself. And so what I learned is the legacy I'm leaving for my kids by identifying my traits and then my deficiencies and addressing them is that I'm leaving a legacy of humbleness to my boys. How to be humble, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to define the legacy you want to leave and then identify your deficiencies so you can address them.
Yeah, I agree. Another point for me when it comes to building a legacy is um, how do I want to say it? Draw the result. Okay, so at work I do workflows. And this is how I build my workflows. I'll be quick about it, but I know what my input is. So next thing I do, instead of going like step by step to build my workflow, I don't do that. I figure out what I want my output to be. So what I'm saying is determine your output. If you determine what you want your legacy to be and what it looks like, and you can visualize this is what I want my legacy to be. Whatever characteristics those are, whatever processes those are, what does it look like as a finished product? Define that in order that you can build the stuff in between to complete the process. So so many of us we start we it's us, so we know our input, who we are, and then we start piece by piece trying to go this way in the timeline to put together our
Mm-hmm.
legacy instead of saying, I want my kids to have generational wealth. I want them to have be kids of my great grandkids, be kids of standard, and people recognize them all around the world as great people. That's what that looks like on this end. Okay, cool. Now it's easier to build in between to get to that point. So be a forward thinker, be a future thinker. Plan out what you want, what you think the legacy, what you want your legacy to look like. That way, building the inside of it is that much easier.
In education, we call that backwards planning, right? Backwards planning. We create a test and then we plan our lesson plans based on the skills that we want that test to address. It's what you're saying, right? What is the summation of the legacy? Now let's build the components. Also, I just created something you that speaks to create something you that speaks to that mission and vision. The vision is the end point. That's the goal, right? And that's why I want to see people when you write a mission and vision, you start with the vision, and then you create the mission, and then the
Hey,
goals.
hey, that'd be a dope TuVues T-shirt.
What
Mission and Vision T-shirts.
you got it? Go run with it. But that's what it is. It's like, what's the vision? What is the end goal for you for your legacy, and what you need it because you've already because think about what you've already done. You've already by looking at the vision, you did can identify what I just said. You can identify the deficiencies and start to build. That's how you're gonna build a lasting legacy. And I see so many legacies. I be looking on Facebook, and I see so many people building their legacies with their kids playing basketball and everything. It's just great to see.
Yeah, just think about it though. Another thing about legacies, like don't build your legacy focusing on and this is just me. Don't build your legacy focusing primarily on your kids. When I'm building my legacy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking 4 to 5 generations down. For instance,
Mm-hmm.
we talk biblically. I don't care. Israelites were supposed to go into Canaan. The ones that were supposed to go into it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta plan things out for the future. Like, yeah, I want my son to be great, but I also want his son and his daughter to be great. And I want his son and his daughter to be great. And his son and his daughter. I want this Davis name, this legacy of who we are to flow forever as a people of just solid
Mm-hmm.
standard and great people. Like I can't just stop at my son by okay, now son, you carry the torch now. Which that's the case. But if I plan to prioritize the right way, it's gonna bounce from generation to generation, just like curses bounce from generation to generation. So can prosperity. So can
Prosperity, blessings,
greatness.
and all can. Yeah.
Right? It can also bounce generation to generation. So be a forward thinker, think beyond just your kids. Think about five generations down the line. What do you want to see? What do you want it to be?
It also create. You also have to create a few things. I want to bring up. You got to do this. Once you get to that point, once you get to the point to knowing what your vision is, things you got to do. You got to fortify the traditions that you've created and create new ones. That becomes the mythos of your legacy. That because man, remember when granddad, remember when you have to create. And the one thing I start doing is I start doing traditions for Christmas, like cookie contest. In my situation, that kind of put a pause on that. But one thing I do is like they go out and pick their own wrapping papers so they know whose presents or who's under the tree. Like many traditions, um, you got to fortify the traditions you have and be free to create new ones. But in order to do that, you got to be able to. You have to carve out time to spend with your kids, right? Carve out time, make it a priority. Um, teach your kids about money. Um, teach your kids about safety. Teach your kids about society, politics. Like first of all, let me change. Let me pause on the politics. Teach them how to develop their own thoughts about politics. Right. So often we put our own thoughts in the kids. That's not what this is about. Let them develop their own thoughts and their own beliefs. But create traditions and fortify the ones that you do have because those are going to become the lasting part of your legacy. I'm hoping KJ and Elijah will continue the cookie contest. I'm hoping they would continue to wrap paper. Like they know when they get a Christmas present that's got both Christmas presents, it's one for them to share. Or they know they got one of their Christmas presents has to be a book, right? So create traditions that your kids will remember. Um, create positive experiences for your kids because it's going to go a long way and it's going to help when you try to impart that wisdom into them too because they're gonna those traditions are going to be aligned to it. It creates the mythos for your family.
Yeah. And my last point, and I'm working on this right now, is, and I actually want to work on this with you too. But establish a foundational phrase or statement pertaining to your family name.
Mm-hmm.
Create a foundational statement or name to where when somebody says your family name, that rides your legacy and it means something. It carries a weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? So create something powerful that when somebody say, "Hey, that's Caleb Davis," that's Davis,
Mm-hmm.
that Davis means something. There's a meaning
Mm-hmm.
behind it that carries a lasting legacy. So man, it could be. It don't even have to be like no book, like a short phrase that man, when people hear the name Davis, somebody like your kids can say, "This is what Davis means. This is what it means to be a
Mm-hmm.
Davis.
Yeah,
This is
and
what
that's
it
why I tell my
means."
kids Davises don't do this. Is what Davises do, Cob. We all we got, right? How far that go, right? But this is who we are as a Davis. This what it means to be a Davis, and it creates a pride in your kids. And I say Davises don't do that, do we? No, sir. Like it's just a pride. There's just a pride to be Elijah Davis and Keith Davis Jr. Like they're happy about their names. I also want to tell them that their names. I would say your name. It's a joke. It's a joke and kind of serious at the same time. I'll say you're named after two important people, two important men, Elijah the prophet and KJ. You named after me. So, but then also we show them the power in their names. But I just want to share a couple of things that we can do. Another just words of a couple of things we can do First of all, we got to surround ourselves around the right people, right? Because people can cause you to get sidetracked from building your legacy. Uh, Acknowledge those struggles that you have. Acknowledge those curses. Acknowledge those weights. Acknowledge those behaviors, so that you can so you can address them and gather the information in order to grow. Because at some point in time, um, your name. This is what you want. You want your name. You want your kid's name. You want your legacy to be able to stand by itself.
Yep.
If it can't stand by itself, keep building. Keep building. Your legacy, your name should be able to stand by itself.
You mentioned something. You mentioned your kid's name and what their names mean. Like, and I just want to mention like Caleb's name and what it means. So, like Caleb is a biblical figure. He was brave and courageous. He's one of the two that came back and said the land was good and we should go get it. Right. And then his middle name is Israel, who prevails with God. And then I made up the last one. I said Davis, too fine, handsome man. Right. So this is what Caleb's name stands for. It stands for a handsome young man who because of his bravery and courage, will always prevail with God on his side.
That's
That's what
dope.
his name stands for. Like that's what kid's name. His initials are kid. That's what it stands for. Like a brave young man who will always prevail, because he has God on his side. Like
Yeah.
I agree with you. No names have to mean something. Like make
Mm-hmm.
a phrase. Like come up with something that name stands on its own.
Even in the movie Courageous, they made those family. Um, Remember, they all had the sign. They all
Crest.
came and did that. No, it wasn't a crest. It was a family like saying, like a family shoot. Like a family mantra and a family motto, right?
Yeah,
Create a
yeah.
family mantra or motto. Even like
We got to do
Elijah Du
that.
Bois. Yep, Elijah's middle name is Du Bois. He's named after W.B. Du Bois. All right, that's intentional, right? Elijah Du Bois Davis. It's all intentional because of the great wisdom of W. Du Bois and then the power of the prophet Elijah, right? Um, so make a mantra. Make the vision for your legacy. Make a mantra. Make sure your kids know it. Make sure you know it. Live it. Breathe it. Teach your kids about integrity. And I guarantee you're gonna grow kids of standard by doing that. It's gonna be not only minister kids of standard.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be important to their overall growth.
I'm gonna create a mantra this week. I'm gonna have a mantra this week that I'm gonna have Caleb say every day before he leave the house. He already says his
Mm-hmm.
affirmations, but he gonna say his mantra every day before he leave the house. This is who I am.
Yeah. But legacy is important. Just remember, legacies are not for you. They're not for you. They're to set up your future generations to be the best versions of themselves.
I think that's where we go so wrong, man. We try to focus on our legacies for us, man. I might not ever see my legacy to fruition, but it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen. I'm gonna be the first seed of it. I promise you.
Yep.
It's like Jordan's. Jordan has planted his legacy ain't going nowhere, bro. Like the
No.
name Jordan is gonna be here forever. His
Mm-hmm.
kids are famous because their last name is Jordan. My son is gonna be great because his last name is Davis. It's gonna mean something. That Davis name gonna mean
Yeah.
something. That legacy gonna mean something.
Yep. Infuse in them what they need to be great young men and women. That's what a legacy is. It's an infusion of the values, beliefs, mythos, standards, infused into them that help them become the best version of who they are. That's what a legacy is.
I agree. I agree. This is a good one, man. Legacy,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I hope people hear it, man, and think about what they're doing in their own personal lives and moving away to establish a legacy in their families that goes from generation to generation and and also it's a positive legacy too, not the negative ones. Destroy the generational curses to stop those negative legacies, man. create new legacies. We talk about generational blessings, generational wealth, generational everything, like except for curses. Anything positive, we're gonna stand on a solid heart posture, and we're gonna go in a direction of just a positive legacy. Think about it. Get around your family and discuss it and talk about it. What does it look like? Plan it and just
Yes, sir.
create a new atmosphere.
Yes, sir.
That's it for y'all, man. TuVues podcast. Y'all know who it is. Your boy
Yeah.
KEB, KFG, and the doctor
Yeah.
on the other side here, man. Appreciate y'all listening.
Yep. Happy Valentine's Day. If you ain't got nobody you can spend the time with, we love you.
Love you, love you, love you. TuVues.
We out.
We out.